Prurient, Dillinger Escape Plan, The End, and Oxbow. So let's start with Prurient. It's a solo noise project by Dominic Furnow, based out of New York City these days. And it goes back to the late 90s. And this is a more recent release, but this is Buddha Strangled in Vines from 1997. So this appears to be a re-release of some old material. I don't buy a lot of cassettes. It's got to be the right band, right price, right time. But I do with this one. It's got a pretty interesting, informative booklet. And I know I read it, but I can't recall what it says. So I'm gonna read this again. A lot of information on the band. A more recent release is Rainbow Mirror. This is a 4-disc album. As the back says, Doom Electronics. I like that one a lot. They're not all, 4 80-minute CDs. It's not too overwhelming. The one before that was Frozen Niagara Falls. That was put out in Profound Lore, same as Rainbow Mirror. And that would definitely expose him to a larger metal audience. Still around, he runs Hospital Productions, very popular noise label. They definitely put out some metal releases too. I got a couple of them. Talk about them some other time. And I did witness him live one time, and that was opening for Godflesh several years ago. And it was just him on stage with his samplers and his boards, and I enjoyed the set. I definitely keep an ear open for the projects. I mean, he's done many projects over many different names over the years. It's hard to keep up, but I like what I hear, and keep checking it out. That concert where I saw him open for Godflesh, I'm kind of changing the subject here, but that was a memorable night for me because I went to 2 shows back to back. It was Godflesh one night and Sun Kill Moon the other night. They were both at the same venue, back to back nights, and I had tickets for both. And during Like Rats, on Godflesh's set, Mark Kozilek from Sun Kill Moon came out onto the stage with his guitar and performed Like Rats with Godflesh. So I thought that was really cool. 2 amazing bands working together. And memorable night. So, the Dillinger Escape Plan, they formed in 1997 in New Jersey. Very popular band. Again, I hate the term, but you'll see mathcore thrown out there. This was the debut full-length album, Calculating Infinity. This was put out after their debut 3-song EP, Under the Running Board, which was also on Relapse. And this is a legendary album. I don't listen to this stuff as much as I used to, but if you're a metal or a heavy music fan going back a certain amount of time, whether or not you like it or not, you're pretty familiar with this album. The singer would lead the band after that, and they would get a new singer after that. And this is Miss Machine. They became much more accessible. Some clean vocals thrown in there, and I liked it better. I think that Dillinger are at their best when they have a poppy touch to it. Just my preference. They continue to improve. The third album, Ironworks, is my personal favorite. When was that one put out? 2007. Yeah, a lot of memories with this one. Love it. I stopped paying attention quite as closely after Option Paralysis came out. I don't have any real issue with it. I just never really listened to it much, and I still don't. I did think One of Us Is the Killer, their 5th album now. I did like this one better. I remember this being a pretty heavy album. But again, it's just not as memorable to me as the second and third albums. And the sixth album, Dissociation, would be their last one before they would break up. And I thought the album was definitely better than these two. Again, I'm not as much into this kind of music these days, but I should get that last album, just kind of complete the collection. Why not? Because no matter what, it's a band that I respect and do what they do very well. And they have influenced a million bands. One of those bands being The End. This is a band from the Toronto area. They put out 3 albums. This is the second one, which came out in 2003 on Relapse within Dividia. It's Dillinger Escape Plan influenced mathcore, metalcore. Definitely some interesting stuff thrown in, but the best was to come with the third album, Elementary. I remember this got a lot of hype at the time, but it was the last thing they would release. I don't know if they ever broke up, but they haven't done anything since this album. And I think this was one of the best albums of, what year was this? 2007. I really did. Get a much more commercial feel, but a lot of variety and flavor. I dug it. So finally, we're going to talk about Oxbow, who are an experimental rock band from San Francisco, formed in the late 80s. Eugene Robinson is the singer. He has worked with a lot of bands you may be familiar with. He's done a lot of podcasts and stuff. I have a lot of writing. Kind of a well-known guy, and I'm a fan of a lot of what he does, including Oxbow. I have this here. This is Love That's Last, a wholly hypnographic and disturbing work regarding Oxbow. So it's a 2-disc collection that was put out on Hydra Head. And the first disc is a collection of old songs with some unreleased stuff put on here, as well as a documentary style DVD. And this wasn't what brought me to the band. I was familiar with the album before this, and Evil Heat. I just don't have a physical copy of it. But they would put out this album, The Narcotic Story. Again, this is on Hydra Head. And I think this is regarded as their masterpiece. I remember those old school iPods, you know, the early ones where you can fit like 8 albums on it. I remember I had this on that iPod for, I think, just a full year. And I still listen to it consistently for the next decade. Really like this album. It's a concept of sorts I've never really understood or tried to understand. Maybe one day I'll look a little deeper into it. 10 full years would go by, and then in 2017 they would release The Thin Black Duke. I got mine on iTunes. Not as good as The Narcotic Story, but I thought it was pretty cool. And the band is still active, and although it's long waits between albums, I'm sure they got something coming out. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Bye.